Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another of my 12 car videos of Cornish Car Collectors, which is the series that I'm featuring, well, all of my cars, giving you a rundown of the things I like about them, the things that I don't like so much anyway. I rank the cars as well. I tell you where I think they feature in my favourite scale, if that's what I'm calling it, and I share some of the history, some of the plans with those cars. These are nice quick videos just giving you a quick round the collection overview. And today's video, well, it's about one of my top 5 cars, so you can imagine where this one's going to feature. One of my top 5 cars in the collection, my Rover 800 Vitesse. But it's not just about this car, today's video. In fact, I'm going to feature 2 cars today. And no, it's not this Sierra Estate, which is actually a Sierra Estate Gear 4x4. I bought it many years ago and have used it as a bit of a donor to keep all of my other Sierras on the road, those Sierras that I've owned over the years, my 4x4 XR and my Sierra Cosworth. This car's come in so useful, but of course now a really rare thing. Anyway, it's not about this one, albeit it looks lovely here. It's about this car and another car, because tomorrow morning I'm on the 6:20 train. I'm travelling 5 hours and 25 minutes to pick up another car that's added to the collection. Another Rover. It's a rare one, it's a cool one, and in this video you're coming along with me. Okay, so before I catch the train tomorrow, let's take a look at my 800 Vitesse, my Oxford Blue Rover 800 Vitesse. And well, if you're a Rover fan and if you've been following my channel for a while, then you'll know this car. You'll know that I bought this car crash damaged and restored it up to what you see today. The car has the 200 horsepower turbocharged Rover T-Series engine, and it just drives, well, brilliantly. What are my favourite things about this car? Well, the first thing that I've got to mention are those fabulous half leather, half Silverstone fabric Recaro seats. They have got to be one of the best looking seats ever made. The alloy wheels as well, I think they're fantastic, 17-inch 6-spoke alloy wheels. In fact, I love the whole aesthetics of the car. I think the Rover 800 is an absolutely banging design. Also, my dad had a Rover 800 and well, I feel close to him whenever I drive it. That's one of the big reasons that I own this car. What don't I like about this car? Well, it's fairly fragile. I don't mean the mechanicals, they are sound, but I seem to be forever chasing a new squeak or rattle or bang in this car. I suppose that's not been helped by me taking it apart and then reassembling it for restoration. Oh, the other thing that I don't like about these cars is the dash lift that these 800s tend to suffer with. If you haven't seen them and you want to see more about this car, please do go check out the restoration video that I did on this. And also when I drove this car from Cornwall up to Birmingham to attend the Pride of Longbridge earlier this year. It really was a great car to take and was so well received. Thanks to everyone who came over and commented on the car. Now, where do I rank this car? I gave you a clue to that earlier on in the video, but where do I rank this car? Well, this car is massively helped by the nostalgia that I feel towards it. Oh, I love this thing. Plus the memories that my boys and I have made in our 800 Vitesse. And the fact that, well, it's just so damn handsome. So for me, my Rover 800 Vitesse ranks here. Okay, let's leave the Rover 800 here and let's start to talk about the car that I'm collecting tomorrow. And the first thing to say is I should not be buying this car. In fact, I promised myself that I wouldn't buy any more cars. I've got more than 20 cars actually at the moment, so that's too many. I haven't got the funds for this car. I haven't got the space to store this car. I haven't got the mental capacity to manage the logistics of this car. But if you're the same as me, if you've got the same condition as me, and I do believe that it is a condition, it's an addiction, well then you'll know that there's no decision to be made. Car collectors like me, we don't think should we do it, we think how can we make this work? In fact, the car collector equation for the right number of cars is current number of cars plus 1 equals the right number. Plus, life is short and you only live once, and it's a lot more fun if you say yes to stuff. So I've said yes, and as I say, you're coming along with me. What are we picking up? Well, tomorrow for me is a real walk down memory lane. It's a car that I used to own back in the early 2000s. It's not the same car, not the exact same car. I couldn't buy that one. That one I think is gone, but it's the same spec, it's the same colour. it's the same generation of that car. Tomorrow we're collecting, and I'm very excited to say this, a Rover 600 Ti, a 600 turbo in British racing green. Guys, such a handsome car. I can't wait to pick it up tomorrow and to drive it home. But it is an early start for me, so, well, I'll see you in the morning. Well, here I am in Wakefield.
The next train to arrive.
Here I am then in Wakefield, and it's between Christmas and New Year. Oh, there's an announcement. Well, here I am in Wakefield. It's between Christmas and New Year. Had a bit of an epic journey today. I was on the 5:30 ferry there from Torpoint in Cornwall out to Plymouth in Devon. And then from there, my taxi was actually 20 minutes late. So that made the beginning of the trip a little bit exciting. But I made it to Plymouth train station, jumped on the 6:20 train, and I'm here in Wakefield at 11:45. That means I've got the whole afternoon to collect the car and drive it back, which is, well, brilliant. I'm waiting now just outside in the car park for Steve to pull up. He only lives about 10 minutes away from the station here. In fact, he's a real Rover enthusiast himself and been putting lots of posts out about the 600. I think he bought it as a bit of a show car and a car to use on good, nice days, pleasure days, weekends and the like. But circumstances have changed, so he listed it on eBay. Well, I bid, and I won it with my maiden bid. I won it with the first bid that I put on. So, well, I probably really shouldn't be buying this car, but I'm here, I'm waiting, and he should be along any moment. Let's see what it's like. Well, the deal's done and I'm back in a Rover 600 Turbo, and I've now got, what, a 6-hour drive home in this 26-year-old turbocharged sports saloon. As for the deal, a big thanks to Steve who sold me the car, the previous owner. He's done a lot of work to this car, a really nice chap, a real Rover enthusiast. Great to meet you, Steve, and thanks for the deal. And also, great to meet your dog, Copper, who took a real shine to me there when we were doing the deal. As for me, well, it's like stepping back in time getting into this Rover 600 Turbo, particularly a British Racing Green Rover 600 Turbo. I bought one of these when it was about 4 years old with, what, about 33,000 miles on the clock, I think, when I bought it. It'd be interesting to know how, or interesting to really experience how this car feels, how this car compares with its, what, 90,000, about to clock 91,000 miles, and some 20 years later. By the end of this drive, I'll know all about that. Actually though, it's a little bit risky buying a Rover 600 Turbo because I've got such fond memories of my first Rover 600 Turbo. At the time, I went shopping for a Sierra Sapphire Cosworth, but I opted for the far more sensible Rover 600 Turbo, which is still a 200 horsepower turbocharged saloon car. It's interesting now that I own both a Sierra Sapphire Cosworth and this car, so perhaps in the future there's a video coming to the channel where I compare both of these cars for me as much as you all. But back when I bought that first Rover 600 Turbo, I was around 25 years old. My insurance premiums had come down to a far more sensible level. It was the first car that I bought from a dealer. I bought it from a dealer in Exeter. It's the first car that I took a loan to buy. And my car history up until that point had been what? A Maestro 1.3L, then an Astra SRI, nice car. Then I had an XR2 Fiesta. Then I went back to a Maestro, a 2-litre diesel. Then a Ford Capri Laser, a 2-litre Laser. I loved that car. And then I had my dad's Rover 820i, which I actually traded in for my Rover 600 Turbo. I felt so grown up when I bought that car. I remember I just moved out and was living with some friends. I had this beautiful green, British Racing Green Rover 600 Turbo parked outside the house. God, I felt like a real man back then. And as I say, I've avoided owning one of these ever since. So much so that I bought a Rover 800 Vitesse, which you saw earlier in this video, with the same T-Series 2-litre turbocharged engine, and I bought a Rover 200 VI, and a 25 GTI, which you'll see on the channel. I featured it a couple of days ago. So I really have avoided these, but like most of you, I'm sure, I do keep an eye on the market. I watch the Rover 600 turbos come to market and then get sold. I try not to bid, I try not to contact people about them. I saw a nice Nightfire one back along, but I didn't buy that car. But then this one popped up, and well, the similarities, they were too great. A British racing green car, a facelift car with the front fog lamps, a car with only 90,000 miles on the clock. This car even only has 2 numbers on the registration, just like my first one, T46 BNR. This one only has 2 numbers. I had to bid, so I got in contact with Steve. We had a chat about the car. He sounded very genuine. He certainly was a very genuine chap when I met him. And, well, I had a bid. I set myself a limit, and I had a bid. And little did I know that my maiden bid, that first bid, would actually have bought the car, but it did. And now here I am, sat in this car, driving it back. So have I done the right thing or not? Well, I got about 300 miles to find out. So I'm going to drive my car for a bit, my 600 turbo, and I'll come back to you in a couple of hours and let you know what I think. And before I do that, actually, I pulled over just now in the first services that I came to, do a quick walk around of the car. So, well, here's my initial thoughts on the car. Here it is then, my Rover 600 Turbo, just pulled into the first services that I've come to. Give you a quick look around. Boy, it's cold up here in the north, so let's be quick. It's raining as well. So, 3 things I've noticed about the car. First of all, it looks stunning, but 3 things I've noticed. We've got some stone chips, you can't see them now because of the rain, but a few stone chips there to be expected. Coming around here, bumpers look great, no marking on the bumper corners. Wheels look good, Continental tyres all round. Along the side, I think these should be orange. I can't remember, I have to check on my old one, but it's the only bit of rust here on the car. Just here, bit of scabbing, I have to get that sorted out. I think the other thing I've noticed is the top of the boot lid, the paint's a little bit dull, so we need to have that sorted out. But 25-year-old car is in really good order. Here on the back again, the bumpers looking brilliant. There's that 620 Ti badge. Sports exhaust there, looking good. But yeah, look at that down this side, no marks at all. Really nice. Take a quick look inside. It's the Silverstone seats, looking good. And in here, again, looking really quite good. We've got a stereo here, which is a Sony aftermarket, my coffee as well. And in here, unfortunately, we've got a turbo control, which I don't think actually is working, but it's there. Anyway, really pleased with it so far. Oh, it was cold. Here's a quick look under the bonnet. Quick look under the bonnet. Again, looking really good. Lovely and straight up the sides here. Really nice. Really clean. Fluid levels are all good. Lots of work happened under here. Yeah, it's looking great. And now I will see you in a few hours' time. In fact, it's just started to rain. Well, I'm 100 miles now into my drive, and the Rover's doing really well. In fact, it's not even drunk that much fuel. I fueled up this car back there in Wakefield, and well, 100 miles in, and the needle hasn't moved too far at all. I'll work out the fuel consumption when I get back. I've got to say though, this car, I mean, it's still really quick. It's modern quick. There aren't many cars that are built today that would keep up with this. And if I'm honest, when I drove my Sierra Cosworth back around 18 months ago, well, this feels quicker than my Sierra Cosworth did when I bought it. But having said that, I haven't driven that car now for a long time, so I might be a bit out of touch. We will put them together and find out one day. This car, as I mentioned earlier, has got that 2-litre turbocharged engine putting out 200 brake horsepower, albeit I think Rover actually marketed it as 197 brake horsepower because they didn't want to attract the wrong type of clientele. They wanted this car to appeal to that executive buyer that was interested in a sporty saloon car. That's why they marketed it as 197. You may know better, but that's what I recall. This car will do 0 to 60 in just over 7 seconds. It feels a bit quicker than that. It's got the same engine, gearbox, differential setup as the Rover 800, but of course this car benefits from an uprated version of Honda's double wishbone suspension, so it feels a lot more agile. It feels a lot quicker than the Rover 800 Turbo. Yeah, it's really pleasant to drive. Styling cues that are different from the standard car. The standard car, of course, came out, I think, in, 93, 94? This car came a year after the standard car anyway. Here comes the rain. And the styling cues that make this car stand out, that are a bit different. It's quite subtle, this car. You've got the different 16-inch alloy wheels, which are really nice. You've got the twin exhaust, albeit this one has a sports exhaust. And of course that 600 Ti badge, just giving you a nod to the performance credentials of this car. I think it's fair to say that the 600 Ti brought the pizzazz, the much needed pizzazz, to the Rover 600 lineup at the time. They were, well, considered a bit drab, I suppose, at that point. This really is a sleeper, a Q car, a wolf in sheep's clothing. Inside, well, I've got the lovely Silverstone material again, the cloth Silverstone. These are half leathers, just like in the Rover 800 Turbo, albeit those seats are much nicer. They're Recaras, these aren't. This cloth actually is also in my MGF Trophy 160 and was in my Rover 420 GSI Tourer. Nice car that, probably should have kept that one. So this Silverstone cloth, really this generation of Rover, it went right across. Now in 1996 there was a facelift carried out on the 600s and the Ti, and with that came front fog lamps, came air conditioning, and interestingly the Ti was lost from the badge. These cars were then only branded 600, similar to my first Rover 600, which didn't have Ti, making it even more of a sleeper. This one does have it, and to be honest, I quite like that. Being a 90s executive car, of course, it's got an electric sunroof, electric windows, power assisted steering. It feels a very modern car, and as I say, it's driving brilliantly. Now I'm going to lose the light in a minute, I think. What time is it now? Yeah, about 4 o'clock. It's the end of December, so I'm going to lose the light in a minute. So unless anything eventful happens, the next time you'll see me is at home with the Rover 600 Turbo. Well, at least I hope that's the next time that you'll see me. I'm going to continue to enjoy this drive, and we'll pick it up in a minute. Well, here I am back in Cornwall in a Rover 600 Ti. This car drove the 332 miles home without missing a beat. In fact, it was a real pleasure to be back in a Rover 600 Turbo. God, it was lovely to drive. It was comfortable. Not to mention, this car felt really, really quick. We've got to remember, this is a 200 horsepower, 7 seconds to 60 sports saloon. This is a quick car, and well, it still feels every bit of that. Now, I haven't actually worked out the miles per gallon yet, but you'll see from the photograph this car's consumed about 80% of a 65 litre tank. So let's say it's used 55 litres to get me down to here. So convert that into imperial gallons, it's about 12 gallons of fuel, 332 miles, about 28 miles per gallon. But I'm probably being a little bit harsh. I reckon this car did about 30 to the gallon, maybe slightly over, and that's what I'd expect. So it's not expensive to run at all. Next jobs for me, well, the first thing is I've got to clean it. It's absolutely filthy. Then I wanted to get into the body shop to have the top of the boot lid painted there. It's a little bit dull, so we'll have that done. And I'll have this isolated patch of corrosion here, just where the sill meets the rear arch. Let's get that done, get that addressed before it gets any worse. Now, I'm not sure if you noticed it earlier in the video, but I paid just £1,995 for this 90,000 mile Rover 600 Turbo. This car will be 26 years old in February 2024, and well, it's a turbocharged modern classic sports saloon. When I bought the car from Steve, we discussed the fact that he probably undersold this car a little bit, but what great value it represents. Put a Ford badge on this car and what would it be? 10, 15, 20,000 pounds? People often ask me, why Rovers? Well, I love Rovers, but you've got to admit, they represent really good value. And, well, these fast Rovers, these hot Rovers, they're great fun to drive, they're great fun to own, and well, they're just brilliant cars. Maybe you should think about a hot Rover modern classic. Will this car be a YouTube hit here on my channel? Probably not. But you have to remember, and I've said it to you all before, I'm a car collector before I'm a YouTuber, and I bought this because I love it. I can't wait to see it parked between my Rover 200 VI and my Rover 800 Vitesse at a car show. I think they'll look absolutely fantastic, and this car is an opportunity for me to relive a time when I had one of these when it was, what, 5 or so years old. Let me know in the comments below what you think about my Rover 600 Turbo. I'd love to hear from you about it. And if you've enjoyed this video, do click like and do subscribe to the channel. It's free and it really, really helps me. Hope you've enjoyed the video, everyone. Thanks so much for coming on this road trip with me, and I will see you on the next one. Bye for now. Bye-bye.